How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of AustinoSportsTalk. I'm absolutely hyped for this episode, and it's because I have Second Take Podcast on for an exclusive NFL edition episode. And the co-hosts for the Second Take Podcast, we have Naaman and John Carey here. I would like to welcome both of you guys to AustinoSportsTalk. How you guys doing?
Doing fine.
I'm doing great. Just living the dream, man.
Yeah.
Hey, living the dream, just not mine. Nah.
Yeah.
Hey, but again, thank you for joining. This is an awesome. It's really cool to just have you guys on here because I want to show you guys some respect, and obviously we're gonna be collabing a lot in the future, and it's just awesome to have you guys on, man. I haven't done an NFL episode, so I'm absolutely hyped because I love football talk, and obviously Super Bowl just happened. There's a lot of buzz going on with offseason stuff. There's a lot to dive into, but before we dive into some NFL talk, the point of Osteo Sports Talk is to put you guys in the spotlight. I know you guys got your podcast. I want the audience to know a little bit about both of you guys and a little bit about how Second Take happened, because that's important, because that's why you guys are here. So let's do this. All right, first off, I don't know who wants to go first. I want to know how you guys got into the sports. I know you guys are both from Massachusetts. Seems a little bit difficult to not get into sports when you're from Massachusetts. It's like one of the biggest sports markets in the whole country. So talk about how you guys got into sports, football. I know you guys, football, baseball, whatever. How'd you guys get into sports growing up?
Go ahead, John.
Growing up, I'm actually 6'1". If you probably can't tell right now, but I'm a big kid. So when I was little, a lot of the sports like soccer, where I had to do a lot of the running, they just weren't for me. I had watched football, I had watched hockey, I'd watched all types of sports with my dad. My dad's a big sports guy. He really got me into everything. But it was really when I started playing football after, years of convincing my mom. I finally, that was when I realized how much I loved the sport, because I loved playing it. I wanted to know more. It was all about how much more can I learn? And then I realized I started to watch more, and I would be like, oh my God, that guy's really good. Watching the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning matchups, those things were awesome.
Legendary.
How can you not love those games?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead, Naaman.
Basically growing up, I played pretty much every sport I could get my hands on. I played soccer. I was okay at it, but I was just kind of I don't love this. I'd much rather watch soccer. I don't enjoy running that much. So whatever. I got big into baseball probably around age 10. I was kind of I should pick one or two things and just kind of decide to get really good at those and know how those go, because if you're not, I definitely have to work very hard. I don't have a lot of innate talent to do that kind of sports stuff. So I was let's pick one or two things, and I play pickup basketball and stuff. But the person who really got me into sports has got to be Brock Holt. For those of you who know me, I'm an absolute Brock Holt stan. I mean, it's concerning at times. Brock Holt, and then Jordy Nelson was my favorite Packers player growing up, probably. And my dad is a Packers fan. Give you a little background on that, because I am a Red Sox, Celtics, Bruins, any other Boston sports. I am the Boston sports fan. But for the Packers and the Patriots, my dad growing up, the Patriots were so ass that they were blacked out. He lived 5 miles away from the stadium, and they were blacked out on TV because of how bad they were. So his dad would watch, wasn't super big into football, but would watch the Packers and tell him about Lombardi and that kind of dynasty of sports, that first really big thing in the NFL. So he just kind of fell in love with the team, and then I'm the only member of my family who decided to become a Packers fan, and here we are.
Yeah, I was honestly just going to ask you about that. I understand you guys are from Massachusetts. Obviously, John is a Patriots fan, and hey, congratulations, man. You've had probably some incredible, happiness come to you in your entire lifetime as a Patriots fan. And something that it's hard to relate to for many sports fans. You got lucky, man. Naaman, so you just talked about it. So you became a Packers fan through your dad. How was it trying to grow up in Massachusetts, not being a Patriots fan?
Oh, God.
Taking over the entire sports world. How do you not just become a Patriots fan? How do you do that?
Okay, The Packers, I've been saying it for a while now. There are some teams that like I think it would be easier to be a fan of their team even though they're terrible. My second favorite NFL team, the Bengals. I love the Bengals. I'd say I'm like on the verge of diehard Bengals as well. But obviously the Packers are my first team.
Yeah.
So like, but I still think it's less painful to be a Bengals fan than it is a Packers fan because we're this close.
Yeah.
Every single year we're this close, and no matter what happens, it's gonna get blamed on the quarterback. And so growing up, I mean, you can imagine if the media is blaming it on a quarterback and you're in fourth grade, and not for nothing, but I was one of the only kids like sitting at the lunch table who had any idea what any of the stats meant.
Yeah.
So if Stephen A. Smith got up on First Take one morning and was like, Aaron Rodgers sucks and he choked and he can't play, like, is that true? Maybe not, but all the Tom Brady fans at my school are just like, yeah, man, Tom Brady could never choke. That could never be him. So, I mean, especially growing up with someone who being a fan of someone who I think is a top 5 quarterback of all time and Aaron Rodgers, I mean, it was just painful to have to sit there and listen to those comparisons every day, even if they had they might have no argument, they might have no backup evidence at all, but yeah, it was less than ideal, I think.
Yeah, so for many of the listeners, I'm a Steelers fan, right? So the first Steelers game I actually watched was when they beat the Cardinals in the Super Bowl, and that was the first ever football game I watched, and I was like, all right, I'll roll with the Steelers. I don't know anything else about football but this exact game I watched, so why not? And so I just wanted to know, Packers obviously beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl. That's, pretty upsetting for me to this day. What did you become a Packers fan? Was it before that game or was it at that game? Were you a huge Packers fan when they won that Super Bowl? Are you able to kind of go back and is that a cool moment for you, or were you still trying to become a big fan?
Yeah, so that was definitely a super cool moment, and I remember that because growing up I was the first child, so I was always in bed early. I was always do you know kind of what I'm saying? By the time you get to the other brothers, they're going to bed later. They kind of have more grasp on that stuff, but I have a decently good memory. So I can remember the Packers. I was born in 2005. From about 2008, kind of that Aaron Rodgers shift, just because it was such a huge headline. I mean, when Brett Favre left and retired and unretired and fucking retired again and unretired again. I just kind of remember that whole story and all the guys on ESPN, and my dad, again, watches SportsCenter every morning. So I would always just get up and watch because I was up early, again, just woke up early, didn't have to go to school or anything, but I remember watching the Packers probably from 2008 on, and I'd say 2009 was probably the first time I was like, wow, I really like football, I really enjoy watching this. And then obviously 2010, 6th seed, take it all the way, curb stomp the Falcons, and then beat the Bears in the NFC Championship game and get to the Super Bowl and win. It was absolutely magical, awesome moment.
Yeah, no, I always like asking people are around our age range that question because a lot of the time our teams had success maybe 10, 15 years ago, and it kind of sucks because if you didn't become an avid sports fan until around the age of 10, you weren't really a big fan or you didn't really care because you didn't really know much. So it's kind of cool that you were able to kind of indulge in that memory a little bit. Let's dive into you, John, a little bit. You play high school football.
Yep.
You're offensive lineman? Is that correct?
Yep.
Or no? All right. So you're an offensive lineman. That's good. The Chiefs
He's the kick returner.
Hey, the Chiefs need some offensive linemen, so maybe you can join the Chiefs next year.
I'll take half the league minimum to go out there and let JPP run all over me. Come on.
Talk about your high school football career, man. I know being a football player in high school gives you a little bit of clout. Obviously, like you said, you pull in a lot of girls, and whether that's cap or not, tell me about it.
Well, let's just go with my high school football team hasn't had the greatest of years. I don't think we've had a winning season for a while. Last year we maybe won 2 games. A couple of them, a couple of seasons we might have won 1 game, and it was our Thanksgiving game against the team that has half a football team out on the field. So we're in a town that kind of doesn't support football a lot. Our youth leagues kind of are diminished right now. A lot of those teams don't have enough players to field teams. So it's kind of tough to see where this is what I grew up with. I grew up with teams and just it kind of made me who I am today. And I feel bad that some kids are missing out on that. But high school football wise, last year I was on the freshman football team. That was pretty fun, hanging out with the kids in my grade. This year, high school football starts in about a week. So I'm kind of hyped for that. We'll see where that goes. I got Dabo Sweeney on the line. Telling Nick Saban I'm not committing yet. It's just how it is. Yeah. It's fun. It's kind of what I've surrounded my life in, and I love to do it.
Yeah. Do you think if you were on that Chiefs offensive line that you would have been able to protect Mahomes a little bit better, or no?
Yeah, I would have just at that point, after JPP has like curb stomped me, literally left me in the dust, like turning around, like, oh, he went. He's fast. I would have literally ball snap, chop block. I'm down at his knees. I'm down at his knees. I'm down at his knees. Tearing Achilles. It's at that point. It's you do what you got to do. Take the penalty. If it's a penalty, you do whatever. You're trying to win.
That's great. All right, Naaman. So, you play baseball? Like, you still play baseball, or?
Yeah, I still play baseball. This season, I probably won't. I didn't play, obviously. I was going to play high school football before COVID started. Same with baseball. My mom is immune compromised, so I really haven't done much of anything. I'm looking to at least get back like on a baseball field this spring or summer. I probably won't play for the school until next year, just because, again, you want to be as careful as possible. But I play baseball. I absolutely love baseball.
So I kind of want to get this into, how you guys, started Second Take podcast and all that. But obviously, so I honestly didn't know that you played baseball until you kind of told me recently. So how did you, so you have this podcast and it's surfaced around just football, but all this stuff about baseball. How did you guys collectively decide to make Second Take podcast exclusively about football, even though you guys have this love for like some of these other sports?
Well, I'll kind of start off, and Naaman, maybe you can fix any of the problems with the story, because I'm famous for that.
That's what Naaman's for.
I'd be like, and then the Queen of England showed up,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so for like a couple of months, we had just been playing video games. Naaman had moved. We had just been playing video games with each other. We kept in contact. We played every night. It was like our way. And then Celtics, they were in the playoffs. We watched those games together. We watched
on Zoom.
Yeah. Oh my God, they were awesome. Well, they were actually awful.
Terrible.
Kyle Lowry.
The NBA refs, I can't deal with them sometimes, man.
Yeah. And then the football season was getting started up, and we were just talking about it. We were just, we were playing video games, and we were talking about this, that, and the other thing. We were kind of like, damn, we know a lot. And I think I kind of just threw out the idea. I was like, dude, we should start a podcast. Like, some people need to hear this. And then we kind of took it seriously. And then, then it flopped, and then we took it seriously again for what I like to call phase 2. And now it's going good. Yeah. Did I miss anything?
So, just kind of, again, to jump off what John said, the reason that we picked just football is baseball. I could talk your ear off about baseball, but let's face it, nobody cares. Yeah. Nobody cares. Nobody even knows what half of those stats are. So that's the thing. The NFL is, first off, the NFL and baseball, in my opinion, are the most analytical sports. There's so much to dive into. There's so much with stats, advanced analytics, and stuff like that. And so we were just kind of thinking, and most people suggest to anyone out here who's listening right now thinking about starting a podcast, most people suggest if you're gonna put out content too, you can do a podcast and do all sports, but if you're gonna choose one thing and kind of dial in on it, you should just choose that one thing and go for it.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing with the interviews, you chose I'm gonna have people on and I'm gonna interview them. You know what I'm saying? And so that's super cool. And also we were researching, and the Instagram algorithm loves if you just post one string of content versus if we were to post NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, and man, I'm only one person running an Instagram account, so like I don't have 36 hours. But I mean, we just kind of sat down and, like John said, we just sat there and we're like, we're geniuses. Why don't we?
Yeah.
Why don't we?
It had to be like 11:30 at night. You know, sitting in the Xbox party chat. Like,
yep,
yo,
that's how it always
geniuses,
starts. That's
man.
how it always starts. You know what?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Naaman or John, you guys are probably blown out. You guys are probably playing Madden and just blown out each other.
Yep.
Like, you know, this game's kind of trashy. Let's talk about our dreams. You know, that's how it starts.
It gets. I've sent messages to EA's Instagram complaining about how bad their game is. It is an abomination.
Don't you worry. Hey, don't you worry. When we get into some NFL talk, we are going to talk about that. I have that as one of our talking points, so save that. How did you guys come up with the Second Take podcast, like the name? Like, where did that come from? I know it's like, you know, don't listen to First Take's fucking trash, and then, you know, where did that name come from?
All right, I'm gonna start with this one. So what we did not realize at the time is that there were a couple other Second Take podcasts. We thought we were original. We thought this idea was really cool. I am proud to pronounce that all but maybe one we have handily defeated as far as followers and subscribers. But you know, I love watching First Take, and I was like, so let's kind of make fun of that. Let's maybe branch off a little bit. Yeah. And so let's just call it Second Take. And I mean, it's an easy logo to make too. The S and the T. There's not a lot of stuff you have to do there. So I think that's pretty much why we decided to do that.
No, yeah, for sure. Hey, I take back what I said. I actually love First Take, but I know you guys kind of play that off. You guys kind of played that off at First Take. So just kind of briefly talk about like what your guys' goals are for Second Take podcast. You know, we all kind of start small. We kind of do this for fun, but we all kind of want to break into the sports industry. So let the listeners know what you guys try or are planning on doing with Second Take podcast, and how far do you see this going, or how far do you want it to go?
All right, John, you start and I'll bounce off what you said.
I'll start with short-term goals. You go with the long-term kind of ideas for us.
Look at that.
Short-term, we're working towards 1,000. We're hoping to get some brand deals at 1,000. We've talked to multiple companies. There's a possibility of a jerky sponsorship, which we are hyped about.
Tell them about the jerky sponsorship.
Yeah, Naaman calls them up. He's like, okay, how many followers do we need for you to send both of us a box of jerky, like once a month? We will shout you out in every video. And they told us 1,000. Oh my God, we need to get to 1,000. If anybody listening, if you don't follow Second Take, do it for the jerky economy. All the beef jerky, like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now we're just kind of trying to get like to a place where we're you know, making something, you know, a couple, like right now I think we're on Anchor right now. That's how we kind of get our videos, you know, onto Spotify and stuff. And they've given us 16 cents.
What so the right heck? Now they've only given me 11 cents. Dang,
yeah,
we're balling out right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're kind of banging in on the sponsorships right now. We're really just trying to get into some base level sponsorships, work our way up, you know?
Yep.
Maybe make a couple pennies here and there. Yeah.
Right, and long term, John and I would both, I mean, this is kind of my plan. Now I don't know if it will be Second Take, but my plan, like going into college and stuff, is to get a degree in like communications and analysis and stuff like that. And kind of try to make this a career. I mean, ever since I was little, you know, I mean, I'm sure you can tell now, I love talking about sports and like love doing all this stuff. And so we were just like, let's do this and let's, I mean, the goal for by the end of this year is to be making like at least some money, because the way that we're growing right now and the way that we're trending right now is it's absolutely achievable for us to try to make some money. So we're just trying to put that work in, get a little bit of dough, and who knows, maybe down the road this becomes something that can be a cool little side job, or maybe we make very good money off of it. Who knows?
Yeah. I do remember. Quick story time. Had a dream I told Naaman about this. This
Yeah,
happened
dream.
like 3 months ago. I had this dream. I'm senior in high school. Me and Naaman, we blasted off. The show is going off the hook. It's kind of a big thing. ESPN offers to take on our show. But I have an offer to go to Clemson.
Oh no.
An offer to go to Clemson. I turned down such offer, and we go in. We got the jobs like straight out of high school. We're there. Naaman's got this happy life. He's got a family. I live in a sad apartment. I get it. I get into like some dangerous drugs. And I actually die live on air. I was telling Naaman this story, like, oh my God. Yeah.
So we hope John can't predict the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know. Wait, so you guys are Second Take podcast and you have 2 people. So if John just randomly dies, Naaman, what are you gonna do? Like, you're just gonna run it by yourself? Or are you gonna change the name?
Oh, he could easily run it without
You're
me.
gonna do like 2
He
minus
basically
1?
does.
All right, so
Might be
let's
like
say
a memorial video.
Hypothetically,
Yeah, hypothetically speaking, because
Hypothetically
like a
speaking
1%
here.
chance of happening. So.
right? Hypothetically speaking, here, John is killed by the mob.
Mhm.
Now, what do I do? You probably get a cool low effort video memorial.
In the arms of an angel. Oh yeah.
I have no idea. I'm sure there would. I mean, I'd probably run it by myself for a little bit. But I mean, I'm sure down the road there would be someone else who would co-host with me. And same for if I die. I hope that John would find someone else
Drop
to
some real quick.
co-host the podcast down the road.
Yeah. If such events occurred, it'd probably be tough to be like, oh yeah, here's the podcast that I used to run with my dead friend. And now let's talk about Tom Brady and how he's still puttering around on a wheelchair at the age of 60. Woo-hoo! Yeah. Look at Tom Brady go. Yeah.
Very important. Give me 1 second. My brother's at Carl's Jr. and I need to get some food. So that's what I'm talking about. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to add about just your guys' lives? Obviously, you guys are already celebrities at this point. Anything you want to add about yourselves before you, shout out Second Take podcast without verbally abusing my audience?
Yeah, I think I just might add how I met Naaman. I moved to this town in 4th grade. Naaman lived here for. Yeah.
Kenny G was playing on the radio.
Oh God, no. Yeah. I literally had nothing. Like, I played on the football team, barely met any kids. Then I joined a baseball team. Who's on the baseball team except
Cardinals, baby.
He's got a buzz cut. We got
fat.
the red shirt.
Yeah, I'm fat now. I was fat.
Ooh. Yeah. The red jerseys matched right up with Naaman's skin tone, Oh, good man.
Yeah, there you go. 2 quick things. One, if you're hate commenting on Second Take, keep it coming, baby. We love the interaction. And
Yes, sir.
two, just super grateful for this whole experience. There are a lot of negatives coming out of the COVID-19 crisis.
Yeah.
I did end up moving in the middle of the whole thing up to Maine, so I've not been able to meet anyone yet. But I mean, the connections that you find, like a lot of the connections I've made just from running the podcast and people I've become acquainted with running the podcast, and then obviously hanging out with John, talking, making this kind of like a point, and then trying to get some money, like at some point in the near future, trying to make this into like a little side job is just, it's been super cool so far.
Yeah, for sure. I honestly had that on my notes. I was going to ask you, how you guys' friendship kind of formed. And, thank you, John, for sharing that. Just before we get into some football talk with that friendship. So, Naaman, I know you suddenly moved to Maine.
Right.
So was Madden your guys' savior? Was that how you guys kept your friendship, 6 hours a day on Madden?
Yeah, I mean, it started with some Fortnite.
Okay,
We're not gonna pretend like we were better than Fortnite. And then, yeah, I mean, Madden. Shared interest in sports and stuff like that. We're both in the band too, so all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Kinda, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You got one more thing?
No,
Share it, man.
I was just gonna be like, yeah, I feel like the band is we got kicked out of a band in 6th grade together. I think that's when the friendship. Was
I think the friendship sealed when we got kicked out of 6th grade jazz band.
Oh my God. Do you guys want to share that? Like, how'd you guys get kicked out of elementary school band?
So 6th grade jazz band and then 8th grade jazz band, we also got kicked out. I'll share the 8th grade story because it's personally one of my favorite stories. And I'll let John go really quickly with the 6th grade one in a second. So we're playing this song, and the song is called Greasy Sack Blues. I mean, dude, I'm an 8th grade boy. Like, there's no way you're about to put a song called Greasy Sack Blues in front of me and me not die laughing. And John and I just looked at each other, and I mean, it was uncontrollable laughter, and it was just like, out.
Out. Yeah, 6th grade. We were both just kind of clowned. Like, we were just kind of like he. We'd laugh at the stupidest things, and it started to get. I think we got a little too comfortable, one might say, with the teacher. And we just kind of like. We were like making jokes, cracking jokes, and I think this was about the time of competition time, and it was just like, you've crossed the line. Actually, you didn't even cross it; you jumped over.
The line is a dot to you at this point. Yeah. I mean, 6th grade, gotta test the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Heck yeah. Honestly, thank you guys for sharing your Second Take podcast story, telling us a little bit about yourselves. Obviously, John is either A, going to go to Alabama with Nick Saban, B, he's going to turn down a Clemson offer, pursue Second Take, and then die suddenly.
Black tar heroin, man. Gets you every time.
Yeah.
Shows up out of nowhere.
All right, Naaman and John, thank you for sharing. We're going to get into some football talk. Before we do that, please do everything you possibly can to make sure all of the listeners of Ostino Sports Talk check out Second Take Podcast. I'm going to give you some moment of silence, and one of you guys, go for it.
All right, so I'm just gonna give you the rundown. I've been waiting for this moment. So at Second Take _podcast, or look up Second Take Podcast on YouTube or Spotify or Anchor or Apple or Google or pretty much any major podcast distributor. Also, quick unpaid shout out to our sponsor Anchor. Thank you so much for putting our stuff out free of charge. And then secondly, if you get one of those comments that's like at Second Take Podcast and we reply to like a comment under an NFL page, like just click the follow thing, man. Your follow versus following ratio is like 800 to 17,000 anyways. So why not just add the one more? That's pretty much it. Go follow that. TikTok has not been super active, but that is Second Take .podcast, and Twitter is Second Take _NFL. The S, the T, and the NFL are all capitalized. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was incredible. Have you been rehearsing that for the past 2 hours, or do you practice that before?
Well, I think we did the live show, and I think so. We did a live show that was sponsored by Restream.io, and so every, let's say, 15 minutes, we had to go to ad, obviously. And it would be like, this is the Second Take pregame show brought to you by Restream.io. And I got so used to saying that I think now I'm just ready. just power through.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Anchor is great, but I'm not going to say too much about it because about 15 seconds from now, there's going to be a transition where they hear my ad for Anchor. So I'll talk about that. All right. Let's get into some football talk. Let's do it. All right. We have to start with the main topic. You guys both play Madden. Honestly, I used to play Madden. I don't really play video games much anymore. Apparently, Madden 21 is absolutely terrible.
Flaming pile of garbage. Flaming pile of garbage. It's better than 20, but that's like saying
heap of shit.
That's like saying five monkeys making a game is better than 4 monkeys making a game. It's literally like they took 2003 Windows computers, threw them out into the Amazon rainforest, and told a group of baboons code us a game and didn't even check. They were just like, "Yup, throw it on a disc, boom, you got your game."
Okay, this is the question, though. This is the question. So, obviously, NCAA made a huge announcement with EA Sports. They're going to come out with a college football game. Here's my thing. I've never even played the NCAA. I honestly haven't. But everyone's saying, oh, my God, NCAA is going to have a new game. It's going to be incredible. I'm literally going to, like, absolutely shit myself. Like, this is going to be exactly. I'm just curious, like, how do you guys expect this NCAA game made by the same EA Sports to be miraculously better than Madden 21? Like, what do you guys?
It's gonna be worse. It's gonna be like two flaming piles of crap.
Exactly. That's what I'm.
Yeah. The only thing that's better about the NCAA games, in my opinion, from playing both of them, some of the play, mascot mashup. There were a couple more cool like limited time game modes, but like the game's gonna be a pile of garbage anyways. I mean, I still buy them. Yeah. I still buy them because I don't buy them though until they go on sale. Until they go on sale for like $23 or whatever. I'm not spending $60 on that game. Absolutely not. But yeah, I don't think the NCAA one is going to be that much better. Just maybe, I mean, sometimes the play calls are cooler. Like you can do more cool play calls. But they've even added some cool trick plays in Madden. So I don't really know.
Yeah, I think it's one of those nostalgic things. Like, I remember when I had the Wii, you could play GameCube games. I used to play Madden 05 all the time. I was always Tom Brady and the Patriots, so they were, like, my second favorite team at the time. And so I'm guessing with this NCAA game, it kind of just brings back that, like, nostalgic feeling. Even if the game's terrible, it's going to be fun to play just because you guys haven't had it for so long. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. All right, so let's dive in. We're recording this on Tuesday. You guys are going to hear this on Thursday. Obviously, we just had probably one of the worst Super Bowls I've ever watched happen on Sunday in terms of like actual like content of the game. Have you guys ever seen Queen's Gambit or heard of Queen's Gambit? I don't know.
I've heard of it.
I've seen like one episode. Honestly, got a ton of school work running this podcast. Have not a ton of time to watch TV, but that is definitely on my list for the future.
Okay, so I just saw Queen's Gambit. Perfect analogy because this is what the Super Bowl reminded me of. You have this character, Elizabeth Harmon, right? She's like this insanely aggressive chess player. She's like blowing through everybody. She's literally going to get to the top. And then she kept running into this player from Russia, Borgov, who's just very strategic, like very down to earth. He just picks you apart. And the Bucs, literally, I swear to God, the Bucs went into this game. And I saw like Leonard Fournette was like saying Tom Brady literally texted me every single day before the game saying we're going to win. I swear to God, conspiracy theory, I think the Bucs literally did know that they were going to win this game because the Bucs and the Chiefs played in the regular season, literally let Tyreek Hill get 203 yards in a quarter, and that gives the Chiefs like, oh, yeah, the Bucs defense is trash. We can put up like 500 passing yards and give Tyreek Hill 200 yards and give Travis Kelce another 200 yards. And I think the Bucs just let them win, let them get their confidence, and then they just absolutely curb stomped them. Like, that was ridiculous, man. So yeah, I just absolutely curb stomped them. What are you guys' like immediate thoughts on that game?
Yeah, man. About Borgov, I love how TV shows have decided that if they're gonna name a Russian character, they're just gonna throw in some random combinations of letters that sounds like a bear growling. Like, ooh, I love to say
the same thing.
Yeah, great minds think alike, Naaman. And you know, when you spend about 5 hours together daily, you know, it's kind of how it goes. But I think I've got actually another analogy for that game. So I know it may surprise you, but I do have a girlfriend, and I played her brother in Madden. Thanks for that look, man. Thanks, man.
I got you.
My confidence shot up. I played her brother in Madden. I'm going into this game confidence.
John, the Russian porn bots who follow you on Instagram do not count as your girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
He's like 12, and I'm like going into this game like I play Madden almost every night. I'm gonna win this game like 55-0. I go in. Me and Naaman, we usually play on like all pro. He's got the settings on rookie mode. arcade mode, which is basically second you get tackled, you fumble the ball.
You fumble, yeah.
Any contested catch is either a moss or an interception. We did randoms. I was the Rams. He was the Raiders. Josh Jacobs had about 200 rushing yards. I lost 55-21. My girlfriend was watching.
He no longer has a girlfriend.
I was gonna say, you guys are still together after that? That's a keeper. That is a keeper.
Pain. Yeah, the pain was just existential there. This kid knew what he was doing. At least in arcade mode on rookie mode. Oh yeah. But to the analogy here, the Bucs went in. You know, they were obviously, they had played them in the season. They got absolutely shit on by Tyreek Hill. Then Tyreek Hill comes in and does virtually nothing in this game.
Yep.
I think that was just a key thing in their defense. It was just, how do we stop Tyreek Hill? You know, Travis Kelce will pick up the chunk yards. We just need to stop Tyreek Hill from, dropping 200 yards on us in a quarter.
Yeah.
And then the just missing players was just tough to watch. Mahomes running around there like a clown.
Dude.
I understand a little, of course, if you're running around, having to run around in the pocket every time, but there's no excuse for having to run 30 yards backwards and then trying to hook up a bomb that turns into a 50-yard pass.
Right.
He's a mobile guy. I'm not saying he's the fastest quarterback, but he's a mobile guy. He can move around in the pocket. He should have been moving around, at least getting the ball off where it's close enough that he'll throw an accurate pass. That's where I'm kind of not feeling bad.
I agree with you 100%. I went back through the film and oh my God. First off, I'd like to just give a giant middle finger to all the sports media. Because had this been Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, or Tom Brady playing this game, the narrative would have been they choked, they can't do it anymore. Wow, and because it's Patrick Mahomes, and granted, the kid didn't play terribly, but also let's not act like those 2 interceptions were good throws, and let's not act like that throw where he was lateral to the ground was what happened for the entire game. It just blows my mind how guys like Taylor Heineke, Aaron Rodgers outperform this guy against the same defense, and the narrative there is that they choked, and the narrative for Mahomes is that he just couldn't come up short because of his offensive line. And obviously his offensive line, they were terrible. I mean, it was miserable. But, and this is something that Chiefs fans need to hear, the play calling was worse, because what do you do if you have a bad offensive line? You take 3-step drops, you get it out on slants. I did not see one pick play that entire game. I saw 3 2-step drops. I went back, watched the film. 3 2-step drops. 5 3-step drops. And the rest of them were 5, 6, 7-step drops. And you just can't see that. And then after he dropped 7 yards, he's like, oh my God, I'm too far back. I can't step up now. And he just runs backwards. This isn't Madden, dude. You can't be doing this stuff.
Yeah, I think the tough thing with the narrative about how Andy Reid is such a great coach, but how come it took till halftime to figure out that, Travis Kelce should be your main target on a lot of these routes?
Yep.
We saw they started to be able to move with Kelce a little bit towards the second half, and it was because they were throwing these, Kelce on an angle route, Kelce on a slant, Kelce on a deep in. It was just, how can we get the ball out of Mahomes' hands fast so that he doesn't have to take a ton of hits today?
Right, yeah. No matter which way you slice it, it was a goddamn painful game to watch.
Yeah, for me, it's I think Mahomes is kind of a genius, and this is why. So once that game was already over, it was probably, honestly, NFL experts and analysts probably knew that game was over after the first quarter. That momentum was just awful. But once the game was actually over, late in the third, early in the fourth quarter, Mahomes was just running around. He was literally running laps on a track, for mostly no reason, exactly like you said, Naaman. and just making these ridiculous throws off balance through the side parallel to the ground. And it's like Mahomes was straight up out there making a highlight reel for himself once the game was over, because he realized like he was just out there saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be parallel to the ground and I'm gonna throw sidearm like 40 yards. I'm gonna run around and run towards out of bounds and throw like off body into the corner of the end zone." Like he's making these ridiculous throws, and it's like, and now half of the buzz about Mahomes isn't about how he choked or how he didn't get a touchdown for the first time. It's about the ridiculous throws that he made that didn't even get caught by his receiver.
Exactly. That's my problem with the NFL media. That's my problem with the NFL media. They glorify things like Mahomes' throws, saying, "Oh, no one in the world has ever made this throw." Like, sure, don't get me wrong. Great throw, but like
great throws. Incredible throws.
If no one's going to catch him, so what? Carson Wentz can get tackled. He can throw it at the ground too. Same outcome.
Yeah. And I'd like to be clear. I'm not saying that the NFL media should say that Mahomes choked. But they also shouldn't say that other guys choked. It just has to go one way. Like if Aaron Rodgers choked last week, because apparently drops don't happen. Like, if Aaron Rodgers choked 2 weeks ago now, then Mahomes choked. See, I don't think either of them necessarily choked. Neither of them had their best game of all time, but Rodgers sure as hell played better than Mahomes did, with more drops. Because that was the other narrative, like, Patrick Mahomes, oh my god, I saw in a comment section, get this man some help. What?
He had the most help in the league.
Where are you gonna go for help? Like prime Jerry Rice can't come back out of retirement, and that's the only way I think.
Can't have Randy Moss and Tyreek Hill on separate sides of the field running streaks.
I don't understand.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to give props to that Bucs defense. Like I said, I swear to God, when they played in the regular season, they literally it looked like the Chiefs exposed the Bucs. It looked like the Chiefs were the better team, but I swear to God, the Bucs were in that game, and they're just like, yeah, we're gonna let the Chiefs do their stuff. We're gonna let them get big yards because that's what they do every single game against every single defense. And then when the Super Bowl rolls around, I swear on every play, even from the first and second quarter, you have 11 guys on defense. I swear there was probably 6 or more defensive players that were 15 yards back of the line of scrimmage every single play. And they just shut down the Chiefs because, like you said, they weren't converting on slant routes. That's not how the Chiefs play, and that's not how they like to play. And so they literally just locked them down on the defensive end. Even if that there's a throw to Tyreek Hill where there was 2 guys on the Bucs literally on him. They just had no chance of getting converted. I don't know. I thought the Bucs defensive plan was incredible. I think the Bucs defense as a unit should have won the MVP, not Tom Brady. Obviously, Tom Brady's
I'm going to have to agree with that point. I'm glad you made that point because that Bucs unit literally makes or breaks that team's entire playoff run.
That's been my point the whole time.
The Green Bay game, that defense played great. And then this game, it was just a great game. You can't complain as a Bucs fan for anything. Todd Bowles is a great coach. I really like him. I don't know if many people noticed, but I really loved Arians kind of shouting out his whole coaching staff. I think that was really big of him because he really isn't the huge play caller that everyone thinks the head coach is. There are all these guys underneath him that make the big decisions.
They brought in Tom Brady, who, like it or not, they fired Bruce Arians without actually saying you're fired.
Yeah.
And, sure, Bruce Arians is still technically the head coach, but make no mistake, Tom Brady is calling a lot of those plays. Which is why I don't think Tom Brady should have won Super Bowl MVP last night. If it were Rodgers, I wouldn't have thought so either. They're great.
It was a good
the GOATs
game.
make the best reads. Yeah. But when you're throwing underneath and you're throwing these drag routes and these these pick play concepts, these route trios, these route quartets with a decoy route out wide, then you get the tight end on a pick and you get someone coming across the middle on a drag or a swing route to the running back. Screens, the tight end screens. I think a screen to Cameron Brate went for 15, 16 yards last night. Or not last night, but on Sunday. And so it should have been Gronk, should have been the first one. Leonard Fournette should have been the second one. Devin White should have been third. And, I mean, you can honestly make an argument for anyone on that defensive line to win.
Yeah, I really liked Winfield's game. He had an interception, 2 pass deflections. He had a really good game. I think it was just kind of an understatement.
Oh, yeah. Can we get to that really quick? Is that on your plan?
Yeah, honestly, I think he should have got the MVP just for dissing Tyreek Hill. Like,
oh my God, that was awesome.
MVP award.
Yeah,
like I love that. It was.
Yeah, Chiefs fans who are telling me right now that Tony Romo isn't biased, like, you gotta have your head rammed so far up your ass, man. Because first off, anytime Patrick Mahomes did anything during the game,
oh my God.
It was like, look at that arm angle. Like, the dude could literally step, point, and come across like this, and Tony Romo would be like, oh my God, the arm angle. And interesting to point out, I do believe that he was commentating that Chiefs-Bucs game first, and he was like, and Tyreek Hill is going to throw out the peace signs, and now he's backflipping into the end zone. Wow. And then when Winfield came up and did the peace sign, he was like, now that is disgusting. I don't condone that.
Just
like,
don't
dude,
do that.
You sound like an idiot. Take the $500 fine that CBS is going to give you for being like, oh, hell yeah. And move on with it, because people are losing respect for your commentating. Because you just favor every team with a quarterback who has 2 legs and an arm gets praised literally the entire game.
Yeah, you got Jay Gruden coming out. He made a comment about how, you know, he could make 100% of the takes that Tony Romo misses.
I think Jay Gruden has to have a winning season before he's allowed to talk about anything.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But yeah, it's just Tony Romo. Like, at first you were like this hot new commentator, so many of these random, you know, things that were coming true, and now it's just kind of getting like, you know, your true colors are showing. Like, you know, you hate some of these guys. We get it. You played with a lot of you played with Tom Brady. You did not like to see him win. Like, I'm not saying you're biased against Brady, but like, you know, if I was out there, like, say, let's just hypothetically, Naaman and me are on separate football teams. Naaman drops dimes on my head every game, on my team every game. I would be upset. I'd be upset if I lost to Naaman every time, and I would, like, that would always be a thing. Like,
that's pretty much what happens in Madden, by the way.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Yeah, for me, like, I honestly, I think Tony Romo's a pretty good. He gets paid so much. Oh my God! But
yeah, he's pretty good. He's better than Buck. It doesn't get worse than Joe.
Oh yeah.
Joe Buck is trash. Oh my God, we can have a whole episode about that. But like, Tony Romo, I think he's a pretty good commentator. I think he has good energy. But like during that Super Bowl, like you said, anytime it was Patrick Mahomes, like, oh my God, look at that throw! Wow! Oh my God, he got out of the scramble. And then for Tom Brady, every time something happened, it's like, Tom Brady, he's just the GOAT. Tom Brady. Yeah. Tom Brady, he's
that's why he's the GOAT.
I'm contracted to say the word GOAT 8 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have to get my GOAT. Also, really quick, quick pointer there. I don't think a lot of people realize that, not for John and I, because we're not rich enough to pay for these things, but anytime Tony Romo is like, and keep in mind, folks, this is the first time in 10 years that blah, blah, blah has happened to blah, blah, blah. He doesn't actually know any of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all coming from the van, from the statisticians in the van.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so those guys need to have more recognition. They do a great job of it on ESPN. I can't remember the guy's name, but he has his own segment on Get Up, and that's really cool because a lot of these guys, I mean, they sit in the van, they make next to nothing, and they provide probably close to half of what they talk about throughout the game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a good point you bring up. I don't think a lot of people know that. Like, especially when they show those graphics, they show, like, you know, the comparisons of the quarterbacks or the defense. Mm-hmm. It's just like, you know, Tony Romo and, you know, the announcers get all the credit because they're going in there. They're just like naming it. It's like, they don't know that on the top of their head. And a lot of people don't, but, you know, the statisticians do. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about with the Super Bowl. I really want to get into some offseason buzz. We all kind of know it was a lame Super Bowl. Obviously, the Bucs defense dominated, and I think that's hard because when you're giving an MVP award, it's obviously an individual award. And I think it was difficult to give it to like Devin White or anybody on that defensive unit just because they all collectively did really good, but none of them like had like a Von Miller type of game. You know what I mean? So I think it was hard to like give it to someone on that defensive end. But there's some offseason buzz going on right now. Let's transition over to that. You even put it on your IG story. What's going on with Russell Wilson, man? Like, I don't really understand. And this is what I don't like about sports media is like, nothing's going to happen to Russell. Like, really? Like, he's just going to, he's like, he said, yeah, they have talked about possible trades. Yeah, no shit. Like, he's a star player.
Yeah.
Like, of course you've gotten a phone call or two about getting traded to a different team. And, and now it's like a trending story on like Twitter and like the Score app. And I don't really understand that. Like, Russell Wilson is literally the backbone of that franchise, whether they ever get a defense for him or not. I don't know how well they're going to even do next year because of that stacked division they're in. But like,
I don't think they're making the playoffs next year.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I literally have
honest.
them getting last. I have them getting last in the division.
Yeah, I have them finishing last. I got the Cardinals finishing first. I have 3 of the teams in that division making the playoffs. I think the Cardinals are going to take a huge leap next year. But to go off what you're saying with Russell Wilson, obviously I'm very involved with the sports media and trusted sources and stuff like that. The sources that put out the Russ trade rumors and the unhappiness are absolutely trusted sources. And Russell Wilson himself even said he's, quote, upset that he doesn't get say in the personnel. He's upset that he's getting hit so much. And, I mean, that's good for you, Russ. Like, you understand. Here's another time. A lot of other quarterbacks would catch a shit ton of flack for his comments today. I think Russ is a great guy. By all accounts, he's a great guy. Everyone I've ever talked to, I have a couple cousins who used to work for the Seahawks. One of them's coming on the show soon, but he's an absolutely great guy. I guess it just, the frustration boiled over, and you can't really blame him. I don't think he's going anywhere. However, if I were the Seahawks, it would not be the stupidest thing to trade that guy for a whole slew of picks and a couple players and try to rebuild. I mean, kind of like a fire everyone and rebuild kind of thing as your roster starts to age and a lot of those weapons are starting to get older.
I think it's mainly like, Russell Wilson's like public image. And like you said, Russell Wilson is probably like one of the nicest, if not one of the most like classiest guy in the entire league. Yeah. And so like he won the Walter Payton Award and like he was literally at the Super Bowl and they literally advertised that during the game. So it's like by the media going out and saying, by Russell Wilson saying, yeah, it's a business. Of course it's a business. Like, I don't want people to think less of Russell Wilson just because he's stating facts like, they have talked about trading me. And it does kind of suck that I might not be able to make some of these executive decisions.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
I just hope that his public image doesn't get like his reputation just isn't like altered by that. But
yeah, absolutely. It goes back just a quick side point. It goes back, I mean, to people whose public images should have never been tarnished. I mean, Brady has said some questionable things in the last year. Yeah. But before this year, let's just go back to before this year. Tom Brady was, one press conference talking about how his receivers were ass, and then another one talking about a conversation he had with a receiver like, I can't trust you, I'm not throwing you the ball, don't come back out on the field because I'm not throwing to you. Those conversations, another one that comes to mind, Aaron Rodgers saying that the young receivers were piss poor in training camp. Yeah. Those conversations, people catch a lot of flack for those, but like grow up. Yeah. You're 22 years old. You're in training camp. If the backbone of the franchise says that you suck, guess what, buddy? You suck, and you're not getting thrown to. Right. And so I don't really like, oh my God, he's saying it to the media. He must hate everyone. Like, no, everyone needs to relax. Russell Wilson is pissed. He has every right to be pissed. That franchise does nothing for him. Absolutely nothing. Their coach is miserable. Go watch our film breakdown on Second Take on Russell Wilson if you want to see the coaching problems. The offensive line is so bad that he's afraid to stand in the pocket at times. And his weapons, he does have good weapons on paper, but, DK Metcalf, the reason he's not a top 10 receiver to me is because he can't consistently catch the ball.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I totally agree with you there, Naaman. I think this whole narrative of, quarterbacks like Wilson who come out and, like, tell these young guys, like, yo, you need to get better, man. Like, you play like a clown. Mm-hmm. It's not to be like, oh, I hate you. It's just to be like, yo, we this is the team we want to win. Sorry, man, unless you plan on getting a lot better, we really can't take you. This is a whole right. This is the whole thing. Right. This isn't anybody's, Pop Warner team or flag football team. This is
Yep.
an actual legitimate team
Absolutely.
where you have to be held to the standards that you're playing at. It's
Right.
You're an NFL player, so you should be playing at a top level of football. You
Completely
can't be
agree.
out there letting blocks.
And I
go.
don't care what the quarterbacks say to the media. Like, I think John and I agree on that, too. Like, I literally do not give a damn what the quarterbacks tell the media, as long as it's, like, not verbal abuse.
Yeah.
But there's no reason that Aaron Rodgers can't come out and say these guys were piss poor.
Yeah.
There's no reason that Tom Brady can't tell the media that he's not throwing to a guy. There's just really no reason for any of these things to be it's just misconceived. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, about the Tom Brady thing, he could go out and win 10 rings, but like for someone like my brother who doesn't really know about sports but like keeps up with like news, is still gonna just know Tom Brady as the guy who kisses his son on the lips. So I don't know. Like I think like sports media, obviously props to them, like they're good at breaking news, but when it comes to like some of the stuff that these quarterbacks say, I just think they need to kind of back off a little bit in terms of like they gotta publish these articles in an objective way that isn't trying to like ruin their image. So let's get into Richard Sherman. I don't know how, if you guys have heard, probably he's 33 years old. He wants to play 2 more years. He wants to retire at 35. He wants to play for a competitive team. Where do you guys think Richard Sherman's going to end up? And I have my pick, but I'll let you guys go first in terms of like where he's going to end up and how well you think he's going to perform.
He's going to perform like shit unless he plays safety. For real though, unless he goes to a place where he can convert to safety. He was never, he was a great man coverage guy for those 3-4 years, but outside of that, he was never great at man coverage, always been a very good zone corner, and he's not fast enough to get to those zones a lot, so unless he goes somewhere where he can play safety, his career is over.
Yeah. I think a lot of the whole Legion of Boom thing has kind of been misconstrued. Richard Sherman wasn't the entire Legion of Boom. Like, sure, you put him up against really the best player sorry wide receivers like Crabtree. Like he had so much help. So he, if he played horrible, there were 10 other guys on that defense that were there to help.
Yeah.
Whereas now, don't get me wrong, 49ers defense is a good defense. They're not great. They're not horrible.
Right, and they were great last year.
Yeah.
But Sherman was the weak point of that 49ers
especially in that Super Bowl. Tyreek Hill ruined him. The entire offseason, it was just pictures of Richard Sherman getting toasted. And it was just...
Even in that game where the Packers got curb stomped, one of our 12 seemingly NFC championship losses, absolute pain. But even in that loss, Richard Sherman still gave up like 150 yards to Devontae Adams. Like people just wanted to go at Sherm all year.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think I kind of agree with you, Naaman, a little bit. I don't think he's going to be nearly as good as he once was. I think my personal pick, I think he might go to the Raiders just because I think the Raiders are really good at picking up players that are either A, past their prime and they still think they're actually good, or
Marshawn
B,
Lynch, for example.
Marshawn Lynch, trying to bring in like Antonio Brown. He was still in his prime, but obviously that was just a whole fiasco. But
the Raiders are the Mets of the NFL.
No, literally, exactly. So I think Richard Sherman would go to the Raiders. I think the Raiders, if they keep Derek Carr, are going to be the best mediocre team in all of sports. They're going to go 7-9, 8-8 or 9-7, and they're not going to make the playoffs. And if they make the playoffs, they're going to lose in the wild card round for the next 3 or 4 years if they have Derek Carr. But I think Richard Sherman is I think if he goes to the Raiders, I think they have a pretty good defensive unit. Like they have a pretty young defensive unit, and I think they got a lot of talent. So I think he could go in there, be a decent player, maybe play safety, and then maybe he can retire by losing in the wild card round. I don't know, but
kind of going off where you said the Raiders are, where players go to die. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he's made a couple of comments kind of about Deshaun Watson should go to the Jets. I
think he's tagging along wherever Deshaun goes.
Yeah, I think
my opinion.
I think right now he's looking for another ring to kind of end it off, and there must be some connection between him and Deshaun. He's just wanting to head. Think Deshaun's going to go get some money, and Richard Sherman's tagging along to grab his bag with him. I think we could see them both head to the Jets. Richard Sherman will die there with Frank Gore. Yeah.
Hey, the buzz about Frank Gore going back to the 49ers, though, that would be really interesting.
No.
That would be a cool headline, but I don't think
Frank Gore will play with all 32 teams by the time he retires.
Love that guy.
You
can't hate the guy.
Invincible. Yeah.
No, you can't. You absolutely cannot.
Okay, so I kind of want to stay with some QB buzz, and then we can kind of go into some of our teams and like how we think our teams are going to do. But Matthew Stafford, I think, is a very interesting player to me because I've actually listened to a couple of your podcast episodes. I really liked what you said. You basically said Matthew Stafford went from like the most underrated quarterback in the NFL to the most overrated quarterback, and I cannot agree with that statement more.
Yeah.
Now that he's on the Rams, look, I'm not saying Jared Goff's a good quarterback, but he's an average, mediocre quarterback.
Yeah.
So my question is like, how much do the Rams actually think of an upgrade this really is? Like, it is an upgrade. I understand.
Couple of first round draft picks were
apparently. So I just think like I don't know if I can go off the top of my head right now. I just don't think Matthew Stafford's like elite level. I think he's a really good quarterback, and I think he will do good with the Rams. I think they will make the playoffs, but will they do much more than they did this year in terms of like actually performance and getting to like an NFC championship game? I don't really think so. So like, I just don't really understand the Matthew Stafford buzz. I think he's a great player. Obviously, he's a brick. You could literally throw 90-mile-per-hour baseballs at him and he'll still go out and play. Like, I understand that, but when it comes to Matthew Stafford, I think he's now overrated. I think the league thinks, or not the league, like the Rams must think he's like a top 3, top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and I just don't think that's the case. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, John, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think people are forgetting that. I think so many people don't actually, they just listen to what has been said. My dad's from Michigan. I follow the Detroit Lions. I would like to see them make the playoffs, maybe make a Super Bowl for the first time ever. But
you can wish in one hand, man. Jeez.
But Matthew Stafford, like he's a good quarterback. Like, he's got an arm, he can throw the ball far. His accuracy is But what we gotta notice is he's also getting older. Calvin Johnson played with him. Calvin Johnson retired. And sure, that had to do a lot with, the team, the rest of the team surrounding them, coaching staff and everything. But will this be like Sean McVay, the young, the smart,
he's so young.
So young and so smart. Sean
smart.
McVay.
So young.
Yeah.
Did I mention
did we mention how he's will he be like, do we really think he's going to turn Matthew Stafford into top 5 QB, top 15 all time? Like,
yeah,
he probably will because, like you said, Sean McVay, he's smart, so he probably will. Yeah. And he's young.
He's so young and so smart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so young.
Yeah.
I just love how he gets all the credit for this season, even though like he is the offensive play caller, and that offense was literally probably the shittiest offense I've seen in the last 24 years.
Yeah.
Like they're just absolutely abysmal, and everyone's just like, Sean McVay wins football games. Okay, people. But yeah, Matt Stafford. You guys heard me say it on Second Take. You hear me say it now. The guy's great, uber talented. Not even that the Rams won't be better. They'll be better. I think they'll be much better.
Yeah.
But how? I mean, especially with the Packers looking to make upgrades, hiring a new defensive coordinator. Like, you see these teams, the Packers, the Niners, the Cardinals. I am so high on the Cardinals right now. Even a team, Tampa Bay again. even potentially a team like the Bears with an upgraded quarterback or the Vikings. Get them a couple more defensive pieces. They are a very good contender in the NFC. And I just how much better do you have to get to be able to beat those teams? And in my opinion, they're not even going to come close to beating an upgraded Packers team, an upgraded Bucs team. Any of these teams that still they don't have great cap space, but they still have the cap space to go out and get their guys and get better. And so, especially with young teams such as the Packers defense, even the Bucs defense, still very young. They're just going to keep getting better, and the Rams are not going to keep getting better, in my opinion. Aaron Donald is going to regress, at least statistically, next season, I believe. And yeah, don't be surprised when that team doesn't even make an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl.
I got you. I definitely agree with that. I want to fly through a couple more topics, and then let's talk about our favorite teams a little bit, and then we'll wrap this up. Carson Wentz, in terms of destination, where's Wenty boy going? Where's the franchise QB going? Where's he going to win his MVP at?
He's going to the Bears.
He should die in free agency, I swear.
Hey, the Colts might upgrade at quarterback from Phillip Rivers to Carson Wentz. What an incredible upgrade.
That is literally the biggest downgrade ever. Phillip Rivers had the most drops, catchable passes dropped by his receivers of all time this season. Phillip Rivers' true completion percentage was 99.2, I want to say. Dude was an accuracy freak. Yeah. And here's another thing. People keep thinking that Wentz is the Stafford side of this trade. He is Goff. Nobody wants to give you, except apparently the GM Ryan Pace for the Bears.
The Bears.
But why in the hell would you want to pay first-round picks, offensive starters, a defensive starter, some backups? It just makes no sense to me. I mean, Carson Wentz, I guess he was pretty good the second half of that season 2 years ago. But, I mean, let's be real, he had one of the worst seasons of all time. And you can blame it on a lot of things, but when a quarterback sucks that bad, I just don't understand why people still think he's a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, when I look at the Bears, I would rather have Mitch Trubisky than Carson Wentz, and that's not even thinkable for me. So, I think Josh Allen proved to me this season that you got to give these younger quarterbacks 2 to 3 years to actually blossom into the league, because being a quarterback is such a hard position. You can't. All this Tua buzz about the Dolphins are going to get Deshaun Watson because Tua sucked. Tua did not play that bad. It was his first year. Give him 2-3 years. Please give him a chance. So I don't know. I think they should just stick with Mitch, and Carson Wentz I don't know what the hell he's going to do. I don't know.
In free agency.
Yeah, I don't know. But okay, Deshaun Watson, this whole thing's also really weird because the media has basically taken every single angle on this. Oh, Deshaun Watson's going to this team. Oh, the Texans don't want Watson. Watson doesn't want to be with the Texans. Oh, we're not interested in trading Deshaun Watson. Oh, we hired this head coach because blah, blah, blah. And it's just I don't really know what the heck's going on with Deshaun Watson. Yeah. Honestly, at this point, I feel like he might just stay in Houston, man. And I feel bad for Deshaun Watson. I don't really know what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think he's going to get traded or not? That's kind of the question.
Yeah. Right now, there's no concrete trade destinations. That Stafford trade literally made the Deshaun Watson trade almost look impossible. You're gonna have to deal out 4-5 first-round picks. Yeah. And probably a couple good starters.
And the country's nuclear codes.
Yeah. This whole Tua thing, I'm calling it right here. You can quote me on this next year if I'm wrong. But my hot take for today, Tua is going to come out next year on a revenge tour. After everyone has been talking about saying he's so bad and that they should have played Fitzmagic all year. And it's dude, he's about to come in and eat the AFC East.
I'd like to point out really quick, jump off that Tua thing, and then I'll get right back to Watson, I promise. But I mean, all year, and for Tom Brady's entire career. Now, I think Tom Brady is the GOAT. I don't think there's a debate there anymore. I think the only guys that could ever catch him, I mean, no one's going to catch him. I think it's Tom Brady, huge gap. Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Aaron Rodgers. And then there were a couple guys that could be in like right below them, and then another huge gap.
Yeah.
And so one, it's really cool that I've got to see a lot of those guys play in my lifetime. That's something that people don't really realize. Like as a Packers fan, they think like, "Oh, you must be so upset that Aaron Rodgers isn't the GOAT." Like, hell no. I'm thrilled because this guy is. I'm watching a top 5 quarterback of all time play for my team, and so people like hate on Tua, and the argument that you hear for Tom Brady because why he's the GOAT. Like his statistics aren't the greatest. He's always had a top 5 defense and always had a great coaching staff, and those were the arguments that I heard against Tua this year. And I always just hear for Tom Brady that people are just like, he's just a winner.
Yeah.
Well, guess what, people? That team was 3-3 when Tua came in to start. They finished the season 10-6. So, like here's my thing. Like the kid won them games.
Yeah.
10-6 is good enough to make the playoffs almost every year.
Yep.
And so if you're gonna make that argument, you can't then. Like, you have to double down on that argument if you're going to make the argument for other quarterbacks, especially all time. Yeah. And then Watson, dude, I don't even know anymore. This is why, I think we posted like 1, maybe 2 rumors. No one reliable has said anything. About a week ago, there were reports coming out that a deal with San Fran was going to be done in less than an hour. None of that ever happened. The same with the Wentz trade. People thought that Wentz was going to be dealt to Chicago within like an hour. That never happened. So basically, guys, anyone out there in the NFL media and any of you idiots who've been sliding into my DMs asking me why I don't post the news, it's because it's not really news. No one is nobody knows. Nobody knows what's happening, and that's the unfortunate reality of the situation right now.
Yeah. All right. So we got like 10 minutes left before we got to wrap up this episode, but I kind of want to touch on our favorite teams. We all have a different favorite team. So I'm going to start as a Steelers fan, and I'm just going to give, my in a nutshell thought and like maybe a record prediction. And then Naaman and John, you guys can go. First off, I'm a Steelers fan. I want to start with Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he should stay in Pittsburgh if he buys everyone on the team a Corvette. I think that has to be a requirement to stay in Pittsburgh. In terms of like, I love Juju. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I go on TikTok, I'm looking up Juju's page. Man, that guy's a legend. He's built himself a brand, whether he pans out in the NFL or not in the next 5 years. But look, the Steelers are gonna go into next year. They're gonna have a top 3 defensive unit. Ben Roethlisberger is gonna come back. He's going to have the fastest release time in the NFL, and he's going to throw 2 yards forward or backwards for about 90% of his snaps. They're going to try and run the ball, and they're going to have the worst run game in the league again, most likely. Yep. Because it's Mike Tomlin, he's going to win in the regular season a lot. They're going to go like 11-5 or 12-4, and they might win the division again. And then they're going to get booted in the divisional round by whoever they play. I don't even know who they're going to play. They're just going to get booted whether the team's better than them or not. Yeah, I love the Steelers. To be quite honest, when it comes to football, I'm really big on fantasy football. So I'm more of like I like players, I like news than like, oh my God, I eat, sleep, and breathe the Steelers. So I don't know. I think I'm a Steelers fan. I think they're going to have a good regular season again, like every single year. And then they're just going to get booted in some divisional round because Big Ben, I don't know. I don't know. Big Ben's just a whole nother topic. And, obviously what a class act. Like, in terms of like Steelers, he's going to make the Hall of Fame. He's got rings, but like, I just don't know what they're going to actually do at quarterback for the next like year or two, as long as he's still there. Yeah. So that's my general take on the Steelers. Naaman, I'll let you go with the Packers. I know you kind of face a similar situation where, are you going to make the Super Bowl? Who knows?
We're winning the Super Bowl next year.
Okay.
This is a bold take. I've never made this take before.
Oh boy.
The Packers are winning the Super Bowl next year. We will add an offensive weapon. The defense will get much better. We will bring somebody in on defense. The defensive coordinator will shock everyone because even though he's had the worst defenses statistically 3 times, he's somehow going to get better. No, but we will win the Super Bowl next year. I 100% believe that. This is the first time I've ever seen Aaron Rodgers come out after an NFC Championship game and be like, wow, I'm going to miss a lot of these guys, and we're going to be back next year. Usually he's just like, Oh, well, when I throw 7 interceptions and 3 yards in a game, we probably aren't going to win. But he seemed pissed this year. I like Green Bay's odds. I think we're going to go something like 11-5 in the regular season. Everyone's going to kind of sleep on us, and we're going to do what the Bucs did this year and just fucking mow people down in the playoffs. And we're going to absolutely kill whoever comes to the Super Bowl. Then we're going to let them climb back into the game, and Aaron Rodgers is going to lead a game-winning drive, and then I'm going to get to flip off all the people who tell me that he can't be clutch.
Yeah, I mean, instead of a game-winning drive by Aaron Rodgers, I think they might choose to kick a field goal instead, and I think that might be why they don't win the Super Bowl. But, yeah, we'll see what happens with Matt LaFleur.
Down at the 1 yard line, 2nd and goal with 6 minutes remaining.
Let's kick the field goal.
Let's kick the field goal. Gotta get it
Matt
closer,
LaFleur.
boys. John, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, here's my point of view with the Patriots. So many people are talking about grabbing these guys this year and then having a Super Bowl contender team next year. I understand it's been 20 years of success, but right now we've got to do a rebuild. We got to start from the bottom, shuck it all. Start from the top, shuck it all. And we got something good. I think a notable quarterback option right now for us is my favorite right now. I know a lot of people are saying Jimmy G, Marcus Mariota. I really like Mac Jones. I really like I think his style of play is pretty good for the Patriots, Josh McDaniels. And I really think he gave into that Alabama system. That's why he didn't transfer. That's why he waited till his senior year to start and then went off on a great season. I think he's willing to give into a system which is all Belichick wants. Belichick wants indentured servants.
Right. Interesting points from today, really quick. Cam Newton responded to comments saying that he should re-sign with let's run it back, say less. So it is still not out of the realm of possibility that you get another year of Super
I might
Cam.
actually throw myself out a window. But
I mean,
yeah,
go for it.
I'm thinking it's just going to be grab some rookies, see what you can do with them, maybe get a couple free agents. It's going to be another, 7-9, 6-10 season, middle of the road, don't make the playoffs, probably third in the AFC East. Unless the Jets can do something with that team, it's possible. We could easily lose the AFC East and go 4-12. At this point, I really don't care. I just want to see, strides towards a better team. But, Bill Belichick is one of the worst GMs.
You guys got to fire Belichick as a GM.
Not head coach. He's a great head coach.
Great
best
head coach
of all time. But GM, I'm going to have to – he hasn't needed to, get a new quarterback. It's been, we've got Brady. So it's just going to be about
and the defensive weapons too. He can't draft before the 4th or 5th round, and it's unfortunate, but he really has not made a lot of good draft picks. I mean, the wide receiving core is one of the worst I've ever seen in my life. They need to get Bill Belichick out of there as GM and leave him as the coach.
Yeah, I think that Mac Jones pick is honestly a great one because Mac Jones was already in a good system with Alabama, and if he goes to New England, like you said, that's literally you just need Cam Newton is not even a mediocre quarterback at this point. New England just needs a mediocre quarterback to win games because it's a system. They don't need a Deshaun Watson or a Matthew Stafford. They could get a rookie in there and they could actually, I think they could at least go 500, as long as I don't know. That's if they start Mac Jones from the jump. Obviously they could re-sign Cam Newton and have Mac Jones back him up or vice versa. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, Second Take Podcast, thank you for joining. That kind of wraps up all of our NFL talk. John and Naaman, please check them out on Instagram, Second Take Podcast. Like Naaman said, they're on all the podcast streaming platforms. We are going to be collabing a lot in the future. And again, I really appreciate Second Take. They've helped me try and grow my Instagram page and my podcast. And hopefully we can help each other grow in the future. And so it was just awesome talking some football. That was really fun. And I had a great time. That was honestly incredible. But again, for the listeners, follow Ostino Sports Talk on Instagram, please. That's where I got all my episode announcements, all of the episode dropping announcements. I have polls on there every day: basketball, football, baseball. Second Take podcast is also incredible. They have incredible football content. You know, I follow Spark NFL, and honestly, Second Take and Spark NFL are kind of my two football take Instagram pages right now for me. So follow Ostino Sports Talk on Instagram, follow Ostino Sports Talk on YouTube. Go like, comment, and subscribe to the video. And at Ostino Sports is the Twitter account. Like Second Take Podcast, it's really hard to grow on Twitter. So if you want to follow the Twitter page, go for it. I'll try and grow that if I actually see some potential in that. But hey, John, Naaman, thank you for joining. And I hope to collab in the future. And the listeners, this is a great episode. And again, thank you and peace out.
Yep. Thank you, man.
Thank you.